Hey, what's up, Canada and beyond? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, grannies and gators. It is Tuesday, October 1st, the day that chickens must be registered in the UK. Imagine that, right? So we're going to take a much deeper peeling back of the onion again today with somebody who is inspiring and relentless and leading the way in this pushback against the same kind of insanity coming here. So I'm going to just take 10 seconds and make sure that everybody knows where to get all of the details. Everything that we cover on a show here every single night is free and available on the Substack. Get over there, get subscribed. Lisa's got a Substack as well. We'll get to that. And make sure you get plugged in on whatsupcanada.org. The censorship is going to start getting a whole lot worse as these guys get more and more panicked because Lisa is on their tail. Uh,
Let's go, Canada.
Right? I was on Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson's show today with Matthew and Vince, and we were talking about some of this stuff, that we've been covering for a little over a month now. And I was looking back when I was setting this up. It was, I think, a month ago today that we had you on here, and we did that really deep unpacking of this, what I can only describe is the most evil assembly of words ever put to paper, to try to destroy people. And it's being done in the name of Canada. So to me, this is the existential threat in Canada. And we've been covering that an awful lot. And people are starting to understand the magnitude of this. But when you reached out the other day, you wanted to take a slightly different look at this again. And I was like, okay, without even knowing, without even having any notes, I know you're on point, and I know where you're going with this because I've been watching all of this coming along for so long. So I want our community to understand this here. This is not theory. This is the culmination of so many of the things that we've been looking at from the different perspectives, but you're hitting it today from a different angle, Lisa. So from here, the floor is yours.
Well, okay, everybody, it's still an SOS. We're still going after the Senate. We're still giving them a deluge of reasons that they have to pay attention to us. And my new lingo is, remember, my mask protects you and your mask protects me. So this is the new lingo. My letter to the Senate protects you. Your letter to the Senate protects me. All right?
I
Right?
love it.
So we're going to take that. We're going to borrow it. Canada has to stand together. And instead of everybody has to mask up, everybody has to letter up. Letter up. Okay? So your letter protects me and my letter protects you. And it only works if we're all doing this. So let's all do it. So that's my, I'm going to park that. I thought of that a couple days ago, and it just feels right. Just feels
I can I just put a little
yeah,
sprig on the side of that,
you
and
can.
this is something that I am surprised people still don't get. We talk about it a lot. Uh, Digital letters are great. We're going to talk about some of those opportunities, things like that there as well. But
Yeah,
do it all, pen to paper, typewriter, print, send letter mail. It's free. Your paper and your envelope, and that mortifies them even more. So you could literally, instead of having, your Super Bowl party, have a letter party, but get
right.
plugged in, right?
Yeah, I love it. And then I found that you can buy at your local, online crickets. You can buy bugs. And you know what? If you were an enterprising Canadian and you wanted to deliver the Senate some crickets, for Bill 3C293, and asking them to either taste it or refuse it. taste it or refuse it. Like, why should we be on a permanent fear factor episode, right? No, thank you. So I've done a lot of research on the municipal deep state, and I'm going to share screen if you're going to allow me to present to our audience.
Sure. Just give me 1 second here. You'll have to pull it up. That's how this works on StreamYard. You open it up, on the bottom of the screen. You'll see where it says present.
Okay, gonna do it. And I've got a lot of stuff up here. Where am I going to start? Because
Well,
it
I,
matters.
I like the way you address that as the municipal deep state, because that, one of my slogans here on this channel has been for a long time. Localism is the 100% safe and effective cure for globalism, because it's the implementation at the municipal level that the top down ideology is dependent on. And so, you're attacking it from, the understanding from that level is really on point.
Yeah, well, it's a municipal deep state, and I think people are going to be really surprised, Wayne, when they find out how advanced they are. So on the municipal deep state. So when we look up the Global Covenant of Mayors, you can look up your region and your city. And since we're talking to some Albertans here, hopefully I'm talking to a lot of Canada, all of Canada. You can find a city and see what the Global Covenant of Mayors does. And essentially, if I can just tell your audience, this organization basically gives the city a greenhouse budget of sorts. Okay.
We've done some deep dives on this organization. I've shared their actual oath that they swear. We know there's more than 9,000 of our mayors that have sworn an oath that supersedes what they swear an oath to us for, and then they go and swear an oath to these guys that basically throws the oath that they swear to us in the garbage.
Yeah. And so my theory is, when I'm looking at all of this, when we go through it, is that we're going to see that Bill C-293 is implementing these plans too.
Right.
So that's why it's all so layered, and you can't believe what it is that you're getting as a possible plausible response. You might hear. I know some associations. I got word of mouth today that they're just told that, oh, don't worry, this bill won't pass. Stand down. Well, it is passing. It's gone through the House already. Private members' bills don't pass. The reason, if this doesn't pass, it's going to be because your letter protects me and my letter protects you. But let's look at Edmonton, how absurd this is. What are the reasons they may want to do this? Number 5, flood and sea level rise. So, Wayne, how's the oceanfront property in Edmonton going? Do these people know where it is? And so I wanted to start, at that one, and because I want people to say, okay, you know what, I can look this up. I can find out what my city's doing. I can find out the mitigation strategies, etc. And then, of course, there's another organization, C40. And how educated are your audiences with C40?
Quite, as well as 350.org, which are all partner, sister, cousin, twin agencies. Did you know that 350.org shares the same floor of the same office building as Environment Canada does in Ottawa?
Oh, isn't that precious? Wow.
Yeah, we know a little bit about those guys too here.
So this I don't know if you can still find this online, but I have it up here. And have you seen it before? The future of urban consumption in a 1.5 degree world.
Yes, we
Yeah,
haven't covered this one, but I mean, I'm this isn't a library either. I couldn't possibly cover them
right.
all.
Yeah, you can't. But this is what they're doing here, is mapping out the budget they gave to the city right, at Global Covenant of Mayors gets drilled down to the individual at C40.
Yeah.
And even though C40 cities, there's not, there's only 3 in Canada. Complete Streets for Canada brings the principles of C40 to every city. So you don't get to skate it because you're not in Toronto. And here's the things that they map: building infrastructure, food, private transport, clothing, electronics, and you leaving your city, right? So interestingly enough, they mapped that 11% of emissions in C40 cities are because of your building. So you having a house over your head. And, they want to reduce the demand for new buildings. So is Justin Trudeau actually worried about new housing, or is he just following the C40 agenda? Because the consumptive intervention for enhancing building use by 2030 is a 20% reduction in demand for new buildings. So, it's, you got to not build according to this. And
Well,
yeah, tell me.
according to Deagle, we're supposed to have about 11 million less Canadians needing infrastructure and services by sometime next year, right? And these are every time we get together and we start to connect the dots on these organizations and how they work, it's the picture has to be getting clearer as to how it's this isn't just one person. This isn't Justin Trudeau. These are
Yeah.
all segments in the to-do list of the Paris Agreement, basically. And this is the coup of Canada. Every one of these things that we're uncovering is just more corroborating evidence of the coup and the willful destruction through policy, fabricated policy that's insane. And so what you're connecting here too, and I'm going to simplify this and ask you a question, Lisa.
Yeah.
And so in watching and through my experience watching this pattern, wash, rinse, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat, what they're going to do here now is they really don't care what happens after these bills make it through the Senate, because the instant they get to that point, the purse strings are open and they will dump billions of dollars into supplementing these organizations to fill in all of the to-do lists that these C40s and covens of mayors, the money starts to fly.
They're already coming in at scale in terms of their policies, their bylaws. What my research on Toronto as a C40 city and looking at their climate plan, all you have to do is look at their climate plan, is they have 2 people, and this is likely repeated everywhere, 2 people in charge of the climate caucus, and they inform caucus what needs to be implemented.
And
And
all
then that, in
all of the
turn, they
cronies start a
communicate what
company,
bylaws, what federal laws, right?
and they all
Right.
go and
Well,
start
but
companies and
could
agencies.
this bill C-239, could C-239 be coming from the municipal deep state? Could it have been, now, because I want you to see this, and I want everybody out there, especially the Cattle Growers Association, especially the dairy growers or the dairy board in Quebec, okay? All of you farmers, don't listen to what your government says if the government says this is not passing, right? Don't worry, stand down. No, educate yourself. The ambitious target for the consumptive intervention of dietary change, right, is 0 kilograms of meat by 2030. 0 kilograms of dairy consumption, milk derivative equivalent per person per year. And my friend, the government is officially on our fork. They're measuring our calories. So if someone says, Bill C-239, they're not going to implement this crazy stuff in the agriculture, just let it slide. Or, if you listen to the Rumble link, with Senator Paul, and she says, well, maybe it's about vaccines for cows. No, it's not for vaccines for cows. I'm sorry. it's about 0 kilograms of meat or dairy alternatives. So got you hooked on milk. No, that's not good. Get you almond milk. No, that's not good. Soy. No, that's not good. Now it's porridge water, right? We literally taught people that, your old porridge water is how you should have your expensive lattes from Starbucks. That,
Hot dog water in the can now. That's where you get your protein from. Hot dog water.
oh,
Like,
it's so sad. It's so very sad. And clothing and textiles, just it's 4% of those emissions in your cities. The target is 3 new clothing items per person per year by 2030. So are we dealing with a bunch of psychos? And are those psychos in parliament? Right? I don't know whether to go purchase a big wardrobe for my growing family, or think I'm going to get into my skinny clothes eventually on that terrible diet. So these are the people we're dealing with. In the private transport, we always hear EV ICE, and we hear Guilbeault and the rest of them tell us not to go on family vacations. 8% of total emissions. And I hope you can see this. The consumptive intervention is to reduce ownership. So 0 private vehicles by 2030. And if you have one, it'll be like Cuba. You better keep your manual, because it's 50 years lifetime of body vehicle, right? So, this is the level of psychotic individuals that are trying to run our country. It's not an accident. That bill got there because of all of this, the rest of it that they're following. This is really important, because you leaving your city is, they think, up to the government, right? 2% of total emissions in C40 cities because of air flights. So there's reduced number of flights. And so the ambitious target by 2030 is 1 short haul return flight. Yeah. So there goes the travel industry. So when we see in our bill the breakdown on the agriculture and the attack on animal farming, on livestock markets, and that whole concept of land use, changing of land use, what they did in the Netherlands was change land use, and then all of a sudden farmers were expropriated, right? This is the grand expropriation, the grand communism. And I don't know about you, but when you look at how they envision our world, it's a little bit like totalitarianism meets the gulag meets digital techno feudalism.
I had an Irish philosopher and writer on a couple of days ago, and we were having a discussion about this. And this is it's a hybrid that the world has never seen before. We're dealing with evolutions of ideology that have had their run in through history, and every Marxist thinks we'll do it better next time, and so they adopt a little bit of old German fascism, some Italian fascism, some Maoism, some technocracy, and they've been able to capture enough people in this pseudo nihilistic utopian delusion of insanity. And this isn't the kind of psychopath that's busking on the corner for lunch money or anything like that. These psychopaths are organized, and they are right now making I look at this differently, being a journalist. I spend my life sorting out the swamp,
Yeah.
maybe less particular when it comes to laws and stuff, but seeing this pattern, wash, rinse, repeat, all over the planet, literally, through these encroachments, of infiltration, of foreign unelected policy. And they're just at varying stages in each of our countries. They get a little pushback over this on this particular point, so they move further ahead. So this is kind of the ebb and flow of these same policies being implemented everywhere else. This is how, I'm. It's so absurd. We cannot laugh and mock at the fact that they have to register ownership of a chicken in the UK, because that is
Yeah.
that's how the person that's not paying attention to what we're talking about, that's what's going to slap them in the face. They're going to
Yeah.
go, "What are you talking about?"
I looked at some changes in Australia. This was maybe a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, on getting a license to grow things. And so all you had to do with how it worked was change a chart. And so the chart didn't need to have it updated through any kind of bill. They could just add tomatoes or, arugula. And all of a sudden you wouldn't be able to grow in your anything in your backyard. And there was anything on the list of what you couldn't grow. So what they would establish was, in Australia, they would establish that you couldn't grow, and they would list things that were toxic, right? But then, because the mechanism, it's sitting there and waiting. It's a waiter, it's a sleeper legislation. Then they get to just add whatever food item, you know, oh, you had leaf lettuce. You had leaf lettuce, Wayne, in your backyard. How dare you? So it's really totalitarian. And could that chart that I showed you, that horrific chart where, they've planned out where we're going, and this was the University of Leeds in Arup for C40 cities. Could that chart be implemented without Bill C239 or
No.
293? No, right? And so when I remembered that chart, and I remembered looking at it, and I remembered thinking about how are they going to do it? And they listed regulatory and financial means. Was the way they were going to do it. So, what's our regulations? Well, this is legislations. This is bylaws. This is the Strong Mayors Act. And then I saw that 293, and I thought, this is how they're going to do it through the farmers. They're going to do it through the land, and they're going to do it by controlling stockpiles. Remember the provision on stockpiles,
So
right?
we got this is an interesting tactic that they used in this particular bill, because we were looking at c40.org and the encroachments. We were looking at the municipal policies and the encroachments. We were looking at the land use grabs. We'd covered all of those things, and had this been a party bill, it probably would have gotten it would have slipped the cover of darkness, and we would have gotten a hold of it before it went to the Senate. But this one even got past a whole bunch of us that were watching for these kinds of things, right? So this was, to me, a devious tactic. Private member. Now he's fading out of the picture. His job is done, completed. He's taken the long walk in the snow. But we're now stuck with this nightmare possibility. And when, like I said, I was expecting it, but I didn't, attribute it to the give it a bill number. It hadn't identified itself to me. But now this is, when you and I had that first unpacking of this, it was like, okay, this is the cleanup project. This bill gives them the law behind them for
Yeah.
all of the terrible things that they want to do, not just one little terrible thing or that terrible thing. This gives it to them all, the rings that control the evil, basically.
That's right. And so we're going to win on this. It's going to be hard. It's
Hmm.
going to take all of us writing our letters and saying no. Your letter protects me, my letter protects you. And we've got to do it, and we've got to do it not only for us, but we've got to do it for the planet. In essence, it's a big ask, but we're digging deep for people we don't even know. I mean, we're digging deep for Canadians we don't know, but we're seeing that this legislation is being mirrored in all OECD countries. This is a globalist a globalist coup everywhere all at once. And that we have to show to the world that this is a domestication of the WHO in our country through the various layers. And I can't believe people don't know about the bill, but should I pop it up and show the provisions in any event? I'm sure your audience knows about the bill, though.
We're pretty familiar with the
With
bill.
the bill,
It's been this channel has probably covered more on this bill than so many others combined. So we're
yeah.
pretty. Which part do you want me to hit
So,
here?
well, let's go to the stockpiles, and let's see here. Do I have the bill up too? Yeah, because I want farmers to really weigh in. They have a big lobby, and they could, cause havoc in the Senate. They could cause havoc with their MPs, and they could mandate that Scott Moe, I don't know if he's one, or Danielle Smith, challenge the bill constitutionally for the BNA, right? So it's important that they understand that it's not just the agricultural provisions that are blatantly going after them, but what about those stockpiles, right?
So, is there a particular section of this bill that you want me to hit here, or can you see it even?
Let me, I'll find it.
If you want to pull it up, then we can.
It's not the biggest bill, but if you want me to share from mine, it might be a little bit easier.
Sure, pull it up.
Yeah. Okay. Yep, there we go. Eat a steak. Great. Okay, so present, share screen.
And that's why I keep harping, Marcel. Well, they'll only wake up when it's at their door. That's the case of the British right now. They have to register a chicken. That's
Yeah,
that's at your door as it's going to get.
yeah. This is this is incredible that they have to register a chicken, but they're saying what they're doing. We know what they're doing. We got to get everyday average Canadians to weigh in. And so the availability and management of relevant stockpiles, we got that nudging that it's about testing equipment and personal protective equipment. But when we looked at that C40 document, it could be anything related to climate. It could be
Any arbitrary excuse they want to make up in the moment.
right, to get after food. It could be gas, it could be nat gas, it could be diesel, it could be anything that they need to run a farm. And it could be
Any
fertilizer.
any environmental threat that they might we're going to have a heat wave, we got to do this, climate change, we got to do this, it's going to rain, we got to do this, and now nobody will be able to stop them. They can make it up as they go.
Right. And we've got what is the high risk species, right? Phase out commercial activities that disproportionately contribute to high risk species. Well, I don't know. What's the commercial activity that they don't like in C40? There's lots of commercial activities that they could phase out.
In
Air travel. We saw, eating food. We saw putting clothes on your body. So anything, that all goes around circle after circle.
You could be deemed the high risk species for going out and cutting your lawn and have your land seized from you, literally by the wording of that law at this point.
At this point,
you're the threat
because
to the grass, because it's the equality. Where every consideration is given: environmental, human, corporate. and then the balance is struck, right? That's how they look at it. So if they value the grass more than you, they could say you are the threats to this little pasture. So yoink, got to protect
Right.
the
Well,
pasture.
that's totalitarian, but it's also satanic, isn't it? I don't can you are you able to hear this if I play it? Because um this is oh, they got rid of it. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Some of my links go down. So
Oh,
I
welcome
have
to the
one
crowd.
right. Some of my links are going down. I find that very interesting. So I had a WEF link that talked about the carbon footprint tracker. And so what they discussed was they would track the individual, which is that carbon footprint. What are you eating? Where are you going? How are you getting there? What are you wearing? Right, which is essentially the same thing of the C40. And so you are known online through Bill C10 and Bill C11, but then you become known in the real world in order to be tracked. And when we looked at the bill before, we saw that interlinking surveillance, right? Owning all the implementation of tools and electronic systems. So the smart city, in my view, is also part of Bill C293. And Sadiq Khan is the mayor of London. And if you're following his role in C40, he's now the president or CEO, whatever, top dog of C40. And he seems to be really testing in all of the UK the different ways to get people out of their vehicles, right? So, how many different ways can we get people out of their vehicles? And he has in Glasgow, he's doing, Glasgow has if you have the wrong vehicle and you enter a zone, the first time it's 90 pounds. The second
Mhm.
time it's 180 pounds. The third time it's 360 pounds. Like it gets prohibitively expensive really, really fast. And in Bath, they've actually been successful. Grassroots movements have been successful at pushing back at this. They put up physical barriers. So they just stuck, you're in your 15-minute area. You can't get out of it this way. Even they just stuck a barrier there and people were plowing into them with their vehicles, they were so pissed off. But, you'd have to park in one spot and then walk across and get to the next spot. And then in London, they have ULAZ, and ULAZ is a charge if you have the wrong vehicle and you enter a zone. And so who's it hitting? It's hitting the pensioners, it's hitting the poor, it's hitting the working poor, right? Because they can't afford the fancy new car to get into that zone. And so they're getting jammed and they're losing their purchasing power. And so, they're going to have to choose between food and heat. And this guy has invested in the technology to charge us by the mile. So
Yeah.
we're going to we have all these cameras everywhere. And so, this guy's investing in this technology.
We're being played so hard in so many different ways. This is just such a grab by these people, just to throw a little bit of a anecdotal connection to all of this. Everybody loves Elon Musk, freedom of speech, rah rah rah. X, also America's largest defense contractor and the largest manufacturer of electric automobiles, which is the system moving forward is going to be dependent on in order to restrict where you go, when you can go anywhere. So this technology, there's no ifs, ands, buts, or maybes about it. Elon is already working with these municipal industries to implement the infrastructure of our grid control into the management systems of the GPSs and tracking and travel programs and all of those things. The instant we give up our old carbureted vehicles, we're foobarred.
Well, yeah, just think of the idea of those pagers blowing up, right?
That terrifies me.
Right? And that has a little tiny battery. And I've been
Mhm.
saying for a long time, because if I read Sun Tzu's and The Art of War, I don't know
Yep.
how many times. And I thought, well, if I wanted to load weapons into my opponent's territory without them even noticing them, I would put solar panels on their grid, right? And I would put cameras on their street lights with a porous 5G, and I would game the Paris Agreement, and I would have EVs. And we just saw 200 EVs get recalled, 200K Jeeps, because of explosions and fires. So they've recalled Jeeps have recalled. I think that's today. Western Standard covered it. Um,
How's those electric cars working in the hurricane zone, right? How is digital currency working for them in the hurricane zone? All of these things, that now they've created a crisis. Now they have a real crisis because people can't travel, and they can't, exchange goods for
yeah,
currency,
yeah.
right? So anything becomes an opportunity for them to engage with the bureaucracy and the enforcement, so that they're the infrastructure of that 293 is. And that's, to me, what I see this as. Is this is okay, they got the proposal, pass the proposal, now they'll start building the infrastructure to support everything that they want to do in C293. Just like, when they first, before C63 hit the Senate, they already announced, what was it, $400 million for the three bureaucracies and agencies to enforce the laws of Bill C63, right? So this is the instant this gets through. They may
I
not
have
feel the
I
enforcement, but the money they're going to be stealing for the money to pay for it all.
There's that. They're going to make it financially incentive for people to make reports, but I think what's going to happen is tons of freedom fighters are going to have their drafted hate letter about Justin Trudeau and Marco Mendicino, and there's just going to be so many complaints from our side as well. That's a fiasco. That's the way to silence people and to put silence the journalists and silence the truth
Yep.
speakers. So we've got to win on 293. I think we need to engage our farmers a little bit more, and I have a share of uh, tackling climate change through livestock, and I'm going to send you a link, because I encourage people to understand that what we're seeing in the 293 in terms of linking climate to agriculture, to deforestation, to us eating meat and the attack on agriculture, it is not accidental.
Nope.
This is a very long time in coming. And this one breaks down every single type of agriculture there is, um, in terms of species, and gives them their emission amount, right? Their
Their
carbon
token,
amount.
their
So,
token values.
here, yeah. So the cattle, the buffalo, the sheep, the goats, the pig, the chicken, they're all bad. Dairy, um, pig production, beef production. And so they'll go through, and there's greenhouse gases. So I'm going to link this for farmers, because I want farmers not just to think that this is accidental and that it's not going to pass. There's so many resources between the C40 resources, which you have, and this livestock resource that I just provided you, for farmers and the farm community to realize that, yes, this bill was intended to go through. There is a massive amount of global and local infrastructure regarding it. There's another I found a list which I think really is great for Alberta. So often I do a lot of work in Ontario and try to show Ontario resources, but boy, did I find a great one for Alberta. Just it's the entire this one here. What's that one called? C users. Okay. It's every link that you could possibly prepare Alberta for. And so can you see this one? So we're going to, if we're going to win, we're going to need everything that you're going to have to take down in Alberta. So
Mhm.
climate change Alberta resources, all their links, where they're at, resilient communities, all their links, where they're at, diversifying energy resources, all their links, the organizations, where they're at, jobs and prosperity, economic diversification, and tech efficient homes. Okay. Transportation choices. It's a funny word, right, Wayne? Choice. I think they're giving it.
Uh,
Sustainable food, and rebates, incentive, and grants. And so I'll also give you that because
Please
this
do.
municipal deep state that's moving at scale, you might as well have every possible resource, because we're going to have to know what we need to take down. We're going to have
Well,
to know what we need to take down, and we can follow their breadcrumbs because they leave it up online.
Well, they project everything that they're going to do. They just don't. We just uh, don't always get a chance to see it. I want to spend a few minutes talking about some of these things that we are able to do and where we can. Thank you so much. I'm going to include those documents into the Substack tomorrow, and I'll be using them in future shows. I'll be doing more talking with other people on this. I'll be doing a lot of that over the next little while, including internationally, because when people start to look, they find these same things in their countries, and we're getting a lot of awareness. But there's a couple of letters. Now, this is something that I wanted to address. People throughout the chat here earlier were asking, how do I know where to go, or who my person is, or a copy of the letter. I'm going to add these two links. There's this one from Stand for Health, which is a pre-written letter kind of thing. You guys can literally just copy and paste this into your own email if you want. But these sites, there's this one, and the one-click one, tell senators to vote no. Same deal. Just fill in the information. It'll tell you who your elected representatives are. You can copy the preformed letter. You can change it. You can adjust it. You can do all of those things, and then
It's
print it
easier than
too.
that. It's easier than that. You can when you put your information, it pre-populates where it's going to go, so you don't have to send it onto your email. You just hit next, and you can decide if you want to make changes to that letter, and then it can go through. And I know also, did you see the COVID Care Alliance one? They
No,
sent
I
out,
haven't seen that one yet.
yeah, the COVID Care Alliance one is also very good, and they had they researched it quite well, and I did a podcast with them, and was really happy with they have a one-click as well. But I like your idea of taking it out and printing it or handwriting it.
Yep.
If you stepped on a bug, you can put it in there. I'm kidding. So I didn't do
Ask ask which cricket recipes they're going to be recommending if they don't stop this bill, because we're all going to be eating the same crickets together. It's going to be the only source of protein we're going to be allowed to access according to that bill. And
yeah.
they've already shown us in their plans at the municipal level all the way up, these are their plans. We're not going to own anything, and we will, they will feed us if we're good enough little slaves and servants to them. And if we dare speak up, well, they've got a bill for that too.
So I think, it's now time to, at scale, get back into our communities. It's now time to, at scale, and it doesn't matter that we have different ideas. It doesn't matter that we're not all perfectly aligned with the same idea. What the idea has to be is that we have to come back to us governing our communities. It has to come back to us. So we're cleaning up this bill. We're going to stop this bill at the federal level. My letter protects you, Canada, and your letter protects me. And we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And then that bill, but it's also going to awaken people to the reality. A lot of people are willing to put their trust still in the jab. And but when you see how authoritarian your government is, then you might say, well, what's in that again? Right? What's in that? I think when we wake people up just on the plain provisions, right? Expropriation of land, stockpiles they get to manage, owning the communication infrastructure, altering all of agriculture, possibly taking agricultural markets away from farmers. I think when people see that, they go, I wasn't really willing to give up my cottage or eat bugs or feed my kids bugs to prevent a pandemic. And so I think what happens is all the other things click. All that benefit of the doubt they've been giving their government. All that benefit of the doubt that, the CCP is not really infiltrating, the Trudeau Foundation, right? And the
Well, it
WF
has not penetrated more than half of the cabinet.
that's and with what implement did they do the penetration? sorry. But and that idea that Jagmeet and Trudeau aren't WEF members, and that's not what's holding up our cabinet. I think when people actually look at this bill, and I'm hoping lawyers are at scale. I've got some initiatives trying to get a hold of lawyers. One thing I've found that's working is people are demanding to have me on podcasts. So if you have a famous podcaster, ask that they bring Lisa Miron. Another thing I think that could work is I've reached out to Franco Terrazzano of the Canadian Taxpayer Federation. There's several provisions, I believe, that directly impinge him. He has a big mailing list. And he has people that are concerned about financial matters that may not be freedom advocates like Wayne and I. And so it's another, we want to get outside of our freedom movement a little bit because I want to break in. I think we should try to break into industry by industry. And we know what's going on, but teaching the rest of Canada what's going on is going to be hard. What do you think, Wayne?
I think that there's a lot of people that have identified serious problems, serious corruptions, and are waiting for some form of enforcement to do something about the absolute obvious. When we've got our head intelligence agency, for example, CSIS, literally stating that every prime minister going back to the 80s has been compromised by foreign interests. How can we, maintain faith in these systems without us taking control of the bus? Like this obviously 30 years, 40 years of this infiltration in any capacity. And I was thinking about this yesterday, to be quite frank.
Yes.
if the if the headline news was that I don't know, say North Korea conquered us through a political coup of infiltration and spying networks, I think we'd probably do something about it and take them out. But no, this is Geneva and Davos and not even a nation. It's an unelected entity that is continuously providing this opportunity for the undermining and the infiltration, and they're openly clear about it. So when it gets to the point, and this is where we got into trouble, and what started me being an advocate for freedom in the first place was realizing the capture of policy by foreign interests. And
Yeah.
that to me was blatant in when they signed the Paris Accords in what was that, 2017, 2018, whatever that was specifically. But this is now we're at the point many years, several years later, where we're seeing the real world in our face grills about what this means when Trudeau says the first post nation state. This is the policy that makes that happen. And at the end of the day, I have a couple of you know things that keep me going. It's a choice every single day, and I mentioned this
Yeah.
on the show earlier that we can live being hopeful, or we can live in being hopeless. But it's a choice, and the fruits of the choice that you make will bear completely different results. If you want to pretend that this is not going to get you, and just say, "Oh, there's nothing I can do," well, then you have predicted your outcome already. So I will continue to choose to be hopeful and do everything I can, so long as I have breath, to stand in the resistance of this. And it takes uh, like I said, it's a choice, and I don't see any other choice personally. So this is where we're at, and there's all kinds of opportunity, to get plugged in. We've covered, just a few things here tonight, and when we look at what Canada inspired the world to do with that convoy a couple of years ago by resisting one bad policy, we can literally break this with this policy, and the
Yeah.
world is waiting for us to just get together and write those letters and get busy, because that's free. Get busy.
We're literally the hobbits of the Lord of the Rings, right? Like, we're not like, we don't have weapons. We don't have, the Second Amendment like the US has. We're totally hobbits. We and yet here we are, and we are going to inspire the world again, because we are going to stop the domestication of the WHO in our countries. And I don't know, did I break down how the WHO through the National Focal Point owns our public health? Did I break that down?
No. You skipped that one. So
Oh, okay. Well, that's, if you have a little time, then I'll just put that one up too, because what I discovered, I went looking for it. I just had a hunch. I am one of those people who have hunches, and then I follow my hunches and I trust them.
and
But
that's why
I
I
thought,
bring people with credentials on to confirm my hunches on things that I've rooted out before. I know to which you're referring, but if you've got it, I want let's hear it.
yeah, I've got it. I can show it. So I'm gonna just loading it up right
We
now,
are the
and now I'm gonna
weapons. Our
share screen.
voices are the weapons, Leonard. Absolutely. Our words.
Yeah. So what I had just okay, share screen. So I thought public health wasn't acting like public health. And so I knew what was looking, I knew what I would find, but I didn't know where I was going to find it. And I knew what it would look like when I found it. So I just went looking until I did. It took a long time. But we were looking at the amendments to the international health regulations. So something told me, why don't I just look at the original health regulations themselves, and and see how poisonous they were. And so they had this thing called the national focal point of the international health regulations.
Hmm.
And what those do, it's they're basically the go between the country and the focal point. And so I call that the satellite office. And so for 19 years, there's been a satellite office in Canada. And so tell me how embedded the WHO can get into the focal points. And so I'll give your viewers my Substack. So I found Canada's focal point, and here it is. It's in Washington, D.C. It's at 525 23rd Street, Washington, D.C. I thought, well, what's our satellite office of Canada doing in Washington, D.C.? It's truly just globalist. So when you look at, there's a whole bill and everything, it's all globalist,
Uh,
omnipotent jurisdiction. And then so I went a little bit further and I found their website. It's PAHO, which is the Pan American Health Organization / WHO. So they're at our satellite office for the WHO is run in Washington, D.C. By the WHO. So, there's another complicating layer there. And so that's really important because it gives a little context of what we went through. And so it's, hey, we're going to regionalize the world. We're going to have the EU, Pan Africa, and now we're going to have Pan America. And so I found out that they have a health portfolio that they control. Okay, so here's their health portfolio. And it's the Canadian Food and Inspection Agency, the Canadian Institute of Health Research, Health Canada, the Patented Medicines Price Review Board, the Public Health Agency of Canada.
all of
So,
the agencies mentioned in Bill C-293.
well, what's really important, right, is that the Minister of Health, a satellite office of the WHO, getting marching orders from PAHO. And if he's not, why didn't we know all this? And why wasn't this all front and center? And why is this so hard to find? So that individual appoints the Public Health Agency of Canada individual. And I'm going with Davila. I'm going that's who they wanted because Davila,
Well,
just left Toronto and she's unemployed right now. So I think she's sitting in waiting to hope to be our art czar, I
well,
think.
I think I actually may have a thread for you to pull on as to why and how they're on that. Why we didn't really get any notification on this, and I would suggest that it's because since what was it, September of 2019, not a single taxpayer dollar has gone into Health Canada. It's all funded elsewhere. So there's no accountability to us, the Canadian people, when it comes to our health care.
They're not even us. They're
Well, I
not
know.
even us. So then when you look,
That's my
look at
point.
the bill is going to be
They've given it all to
taking
them. They
Canada
gave Health Canada
and giving
away.
it to they're taking Canada under Bill 293 and giving it to the WHO. And so when you link back that the national focal points, it's not just for Canada. I mean, this is for the whole world. They all have national focal points. I have that on my Substack. You can find the Canadian one. I delved into the US and I went extensively and I did every satellite office of the WHO globally. And so you can start exposing that your health agencies are not yours. And so that changes. Oh, well, they have the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. That chicken's got a bad cough. That one
Yeah,
does.
Tahoe
Right?
said so.
Got to get rid of the herd. And, or the Patent Price Review Board. So the
Yeah.
WHO is funded by Bill and Melinda Gates and Gavi and CEPI and everybody in the industry for vaccines. And then the Patented Price Review Board is going to tell us Canadians how much we're paying for the remedies we do or don't want. Like it's also, there's a big conflict of interest. Now, and that funding then of the WHO and with them embedded, how many doctors are educated with that information? Like I went hunting for it. How many doctors know that when they get messages from Health Canada or Public Health Canada on it is safe, it is effective, that whether or not there's a conflict of interest because of how those organizations can be exploited? And tell me if I am wrong and they're not exploited, prove it. because justice must be seen to be done. And as long as I have a master's in the law in conflict of interest, and I'm telling you, that just stinks. That stinks to high heaven. I have the right as a Canadian not to believe that Health Canada is mine. I have a right as a Canadian not to believe that Public Health Canada is mine. And then when I think about Bill C-293 going over to Health Canada, Public Health Canada, under a small risk, not defined, of preventing in the future, not defined how much in the future, pandemic. So instantly, because anything, they own the communication of the risk, they own everything, they can get Canada instantly when that passes. We cannot let it pass. And anybody who is sticking their head in the sand and believes a government who's that polluted, who didn't tell you about this, is an idiot.
You're more kind than I, and probably more cognizant of slander and libel than the terms that I use some days. But yeah, I have some pretty harsh terminology for those people, and I look forward to the point where we can not just stop this, but get onto the offense on some of this, because the conflict, the collusion, the conspiracy, the treason, the genocide. There's so much that needs to be atoned for, and Canadians absolutely deserve better. Humanity deserves better, and we got to do what we got to do, and this is our time, and this is our opportunity, and
Right.
I hope Canadians embrace this right now, because they got a chance to literally save humanity. So pitter patter,
Yeah,
folks.
what could be a better goal? What could be a
Right?
better, yeah, what could be a better
Who didn't
pastime?
who growing up didn't wanna be a hero?
Time to put on your cape, everybody, right? Your
Yeah.
letter writing hobbit cape. No, but really, um, yeah, I think what's happening too is that as they try to take things from us, right? We're like, who looks at Hollywood anymore? Who, get rid of your Netflix, get rid of your PayPal,
Yeah,
get rid of all of that. Let them bleed, right? Because
the bread and
you know,
circuses are almost dead. They're dying, so much of this stuff is over. All we have to do is keep going. They are absolutely mortified right now, the people that are trying to pull all of these things off. And I see this coming here, and this is what one of the things I want to say. Yes, this has been going on for decades, but you know what? In only a couple of years, a very short period of time, we have undone decades worth of their evil intent. Right?
oh yeah,
So we are
yeah,
moving
yeah.
way faster than what they were. So yeah, I look forward to seeing what it looks like on the other side of this, because I have absolutely no doubt that we win.
Well, they're taking away our hobbies, they're taking away our distractions, and so
Everything.
we've got you know what? Then we do dig in, don't we? Well, what's more important? And so, we're finding that, yeah, I think I can find the time to write a letter and tell my neighbors and call some people up. And Canada, what you need to do is think about everybody that's in your circle and who's in what industry. And you say, okay, I know someone in restaurants, because then you go to that person in restaurants and you ask them to climb all the way up as
What's their
high
menu gonna
as
look
they
like when
can.
they can't serve beef, chicken, fish anymore, and all they've got to choose from for protein is crickets or something manufactured?
And you
What's the
find the top person in the restaurant industry to notify everybody else. So you want to do efficient red pilling. Like, this is expropriation of land. This is handing over Canada. It's a coup. It's totalitarian. It's all the reasons it is. You take them through the videos or the bill, or you discuss it, and then you go industry, funeral embalmers, teachers, people in the medical profession. You ask them, you say, this is it. This is our SOS. This is an SOS. And if you let this pass, Canada will never be the same again. So
It's
there's
over.
no letting this pass. There's no
So
letting this pass. And so everybody goes to the people they know. And it's not friends anymore. It's not family. You're not begging them not to take a vaccine, right? You're showing them what's going on. It's a coup. And you red pill the people in those industries. Go to the farmers, go to the restaurateurs, go to real estate agents. You think when the everybody's expropriated, there's any real estate industry, right?
No, there's nothing. There's nothing left for anybody. There's going to be a tokenized allotment of nutrition, calories, and distance of travel available, so long as you behave nicely in the yard. That's literally what they are shooting for, and this 293 is the backbone legislation of implementing that. So we need to lose the polarization on so many of, and this is something I say a lot. Here in Canada, we love to squabble, we love to fight. We can find a bazillion things to fight about. Let's find one to work together on for 5 damn minutes, and let's end the insanity so we can go back to doing what we like doing, is squabbling some more,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I like it. I like it. Yeah. I I think that, I'm hoping what's happening is that there's a few, Antifa or union people who watch you just to get mad, and that we accidentally red pill
Well, it's
people.
I can actually state that I have sat in meetings this week with people that have done their level best to try to destroy my platform before, but they are on board for helping out with different groups and organizations taking part in this fight. So I will say yes, we are making headway.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, I hope I showed a little bit about the municipal deep state that, has the same agenda of this bill, that needs
You
this
know,
bill.
we've been looking at a lot at the municipality, the crimes against the people, about property and these kinds of things. Our community knows a lot about things like that. Maggie, Hope Braun is working on. And it's the same thing. It's the same organizations. It's the same
Yeah.
policies, the same bills. So we're seeing openly and clearly the conspiracy against Canadians through multiple avenues and tentacles. So this is great, Lisa. For we've talked through press conferences and so many other things and meetings already about where this is coming from, the top down. But when you mentioned that bringing it from the municipality, I was like, okay, it's go time. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for taking some more time with us here tonight, and plugging some more on this, and we'll do it again soon, I'm sure.
We will. Okay, Wayne, and I'm always happy to spend some time with you. I love the way your
Yeah.
brain thinks. So
Well, thank you for that. That's a hit and miss experience in a way's world. But, I look forward to those add-ons and the documents, and giving people more to chew on. And
yeah,
I'll make sure that they get sent over to your Substack as well. You're one of my recommends on my Substack. So yeah, let's throw some gas on the fire and scrap this C293 abomination.
let's
So.
do it. Let's do it, Canada.
All
Counting on
right. Thanks,
you.
Lisa.
Bye.
Bye. All right, guys. Another drink from the fire hose. I was just feeling for you there, y'all. JJ. Uh, a lot to process. These kinds of things generally are, but when you're over the target, that's kind of the nature of it. A lot of this stuff. I mean, this is kind of why we're gaining ground on it. Like I said there a little while ago, we've undone in just a couple of years what's taken them generations and decades to do. So this is how we do it, right? All right, guys. She's got some stuff there for me. Awesome, coming in already. She does not waste any time. She is a force of nature. So I encourage everybody to get plugged in on her Substack. I can't keep up, so if you think I disseminate a lot of this kind of stuff to you, she's got way more even. So definitely get plugged in on her Substack. Working on, not sure what it's going to be tomorrow. Who knows? Every day is a brand new adventure in Clown World. But you see the link to my Substack down below. Get plugged in there. And if you have, I'm going to pull up my email address for everybody. Guys, I got quite a few emails for these coins, these novelty silver coins. The only way I'm going to be able to, so if you sent me an email, you'll get a response with the instructions on what to do with that. But if you want more details on that and how that's going to work, send me an email at contact@whatsupcanada.org. All right. And last but not least, I'm going to play out with my favorite little ditty from one of my favorite partners who is taking billions of dollars away from the cabal every single year, which I love them for. Not to mention, I love everything I get. I love you all. Stay mighty, my friends, family, patriots, prisoners, and hostages. We will see you tomorrow.